Hi, and welcome back to the Semantic Agent. I am Beatrice Gamba. Across this season, we've been exploring the invisible infrastructure behind AI. With Andrea Volpini, we talked about reasoning. With Lazzarina, we explored how workflows evolve when AI becomes part of our everyday work. With Gianluca, we looked at how discovery itself is changing. And with Garima, last time we discussed how semantic knowledge powers the next generation of shopping experiences. Today's episode builds naturally on those conversations because, of course, if AI can reason, if AI can discover and shop, there is one more question that we need to answer, and that will be, what does AI remember? So for years, knowledge graph have been associated with SEO. I mean, it's not, of course, the most common of use cases, but it has become a thing in time. And they've been treated as something more technical, but somehow useful for search engines. I think that's becoming somehow an outdated way of looking at them. Because today knowledge graphs are evolving into something that's much more strategic for companies and website owners. They're becoming an organization's memory, not memory in a human sense, but in a structure, as a structured representation of everything that an organization knows. Meaning products, customers, expertise, relationships, business logic, even. And as AI agents become more autonomous, that memory layer becomes more and more important because without memory, reasoning can become inconsistent. And without structure, intelligence becomes unreliable. Today's guest has been one of the strongest advocates for this change. Olesya Korobka spent many years helping organizations move beyond documents and towards structured knowledge, arguing that every company should own its own private knowledge graph. Not for Google, not for SEO only, but for AI. So I wanted to welcome Olesya to the Semantic Agent. Good, so let's get started. I'd like to start with something that has changed dramatically over the last few years. For a long time, knowledge graphs were discussed almost exclusively.
The internet. Yes, the last question. Yes? Can you?
I think you're.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, you broke up the audio, so I did not hear you.
Yes. Okay. I left at the moment when you were starting talking about the semantic agents, and at that moment I stopped hearing you at all. Right now, so.
Okay, good. It seems you're back. So welcome to the episode.
Can you hear?
I think you're still breaking up a little bit. I don't know if that's me though.
Can you hear? No? Is it you or me or whoever?
I don't know. I guess
it appears there's a bit of a lag. If it helps, maybe with the latency, you can both turn off your video camera and see if that improves.
Okay.
I do see you.
Okay.
I do see you, Olesya, in real time, but maybe just try it with video. And if the issues keep persisting, take off video.
Okay. Try again.
Yeah, it seems to be working now. So.
Okay. Can you remind the last question?
Yeah. No. We're about to start. So yeah, I'd like to start with something that has changed over the last few years. So for a long time, knowledge graphs were discussed almost exclusively through the lens of Google, entities SEO, at least in our world of SEOs. And today you are encouraging organizations to build private knowledge graphs as part of their AI strategy. So what has changed over the years? So why has this become relevant now?
I think it has been relevant for a long time ago, just it became quite more necessary for SEO at the moment. I think that many companies had their knowledge graphs long before any AI was on the horizon. For example, I really like the example of New York Times, where they build content around that, and or some even e-commerce websites where they build products, how they are interconnected, and everything like that. So just SEOs didn't use them that extensively. Some of them did use, for example, like when you had really big catalogs, directories or something like that, a very big infrastructure where you had to confirm the data doesn't change in between different properties. But right now, what we're moving towards is that people are seeking the answer from the AI agents or AI chatbots, or even from Google in their AI mode, and they don't want to go to your website anymore, so that you need to ensure that the information the people are getting about your company, about your products, whatever you are offering, even about yourself, it is the right information. It is the one that you want to be perceived, like that you control your narrative about yourself, that you are not confused with some other person, your organization is not confused with some other organization, your product is not confused with another, and the person gets the right price about your product, the right site information, the right reviews, so that the reviews are not confused about some bad products in you. And knowledge graphs fit perfectly into that. So you keep your information actually in one place, you know its provenance, you know when it was last updated, and the most important part in knowledge graphs, why you don't do this as a simple database, is the relationships of the properties that you keep and the entities that you keep in your knowledge graph. So even if it's rather small, it still helps you quite a lot, not only with your content and your SEO, but with keeping your narrative, your conformity among all the places. So today, for example, Google, they made their social media and video properties in Google Search Console global. So right now we can go and add the YouTube channel or for Swarm community into the Google Search Console and see how it ranks, for which queries, and what impression it gets. You don't even need to have a website anymore for that if you control your YouTube channel. I do still suggest that you do have all kind of properties, websites, all social media and other channels. However, to feed all those properties, there are many of them. Yeah? When you choose YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, everything, so everything is scattered. How do you keep everything confirmed and global and right, so that it's not confused and it serves your business goals properly? So I think, yes, right now for ICS, it's especially important, and for organizations too.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that one of the, especially for bigger organizations, like the fact of data ownership and control over the data that gets published online and retrieved by AI systems and Google is especially important. And the knowledge graph can do just that. So I think that is indeed one big selling point. And also while building a knowledge graph, you realize that you have to pose yourself a few questions. So what is the main goal? What is our core products, our core vision and mission? And then on top of that, you start building like core outwards. You start building your graph. And I think that this also builds the infrastructure for like smart decision making, and on top of everything else. So I totally agree. I mean, the technology has been out there for some time, but I have a feeling that in the past like couple years, it has become like a thing that people really want to implement and test out.
I'm seeing it more extensively right now. Like a few years ago, when I started to talk in my niche about in my industry about knowledge graphs, I sometimes got people laughing, like, "Why do we need that? We just rank and that's it. You are overcomplicating stuff." I was told a lot of times. Like, see who's laughing now. I mean, in a good sense. Like now, everyone wants to have something, if not a knowledge graph, then some kind of data layer with some query system upon that, or at least some RAG or something. But knowledge graph is just more, I think, a more natural way to keep stuff and to get advantage of that. Because in the knowledge graph, you can organize everything so effectively and you can actually get lots of value from it. It's not like a database where you have already pre-configured all the relationships. It gives you more angles and it gives you more flexibility and gives you so much power compared to people who don't have one. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So one thing is that we are no longer talking about graphs as search infrastructure, but like organizational infrastructures. And also in your work, you describe private knowledge graphs as a way of organizing everything a company knows.
Yes.
And I really like that framing because it moves beyond the technology itself. So, are we moving toward a world where every organization needs its own memory layer? And what does organizational memory actually mean?
I'd be very. I know that in knowledge graph community, people are very wary of what is called what, of some definitions. So I just need to make a disclaimer that I'm simplifying some things and I may use deliberately some of the naming. So please don't attack me with that. So I don't mean when I'm talking about the company memory that it is the only single purpose of a knowledge graph. No, of course not. So there are lots of layers in the company memory, but with the knowledge graph, it's just so much easier. And with the knowledge graph, you have always the provenance, who did what, you have the dates, you have all those relationships. Yes, as a part of the memory layer, it is also very useful. Some people say that they can use just RAG as a memory and build some query on top of that. Why I don't suggest doing that is that searching through RAG is much more difficult compared to knowledge graphs, and this is also less reliable, so to say. So you can have very sophisticated constructs with a knowledge graph, something that you cannot think right now of, but that you will face when you start working. And also RAG will not give you this verifiable information. Though Graph RAG, which is the future, I can call it the future, is of course much more flexible, but you need to be able to build one too. So I think that knowledge graphs are a bit easier at this point, though they might evolve as well. So yes, as a part of memory layer, they are, I think, not surpassed by anything, as far as I know, at the
Yeah,
moment, especially in my field.
yeah, of course, of course. As opposed to letting concepts only live in documents or very complex Excel files or even inside people's heads. I think that organizing concepts, products, web pages in the form of a graph, it's much more practical. And I think that this is like what most organizations still struggle with, because at the end of the day, we still organize knowledge around files. And we know that AI isn't doing that. So companies still think in terms of PDFs, Word files, Confluence pages, websites. So, and all of these are scattered, it's scattered information. And AI, I mean, understands documents, but what understands better are relationships. So, how do you think that organization should rethink knowledge itself? So, are documents becoming interfaces rather than the source of truth?
I think that like documents don't disappear, of course, like the websites don't disappear because we have chatbots. It's natural that we store our information in different ways and images, and thanks God, AI can now understand everything and it works perfectly fine. But knowledge graphs give us the meaning of everything that we store in those documents. It's not just a bag of some stuff, useful stuff, different documents scattered here and there, and tokens, but you can actually derive an actual meaning from what you have and what you store, and that's a big advantage compared to just statistical, I don't know, co-occurrences and all this stuff. So you get these as an additional value and an unfair advantage compared to your competition if they don't use this as one. So, but like even just storing documents, many people don't even do that. It's quite difficult, it requires some organization from you and all this kind of stuff, and searching through them and doing that iteratively is also very difficult. With knowledge graph, it's much easier and also proven methods like to do so since I don't know when.
Do you think that structured knowledge can become like the new database?
I think that it has been always like that. I think that we are more talking about semi-structured knowledge, right? Because like if we are talking about humans, they don't really read structured data. They read semi-structured like tables and all these kind of things. And yeah, it's been quite an old system. I think everything started with tables actually. With knowledge graphs and with AI too, they all started by crawling and trying to understand the tables first. And the table data has been the most popular ever since, and it is right now. So anything that you want to be especially well crawled and extracted, do that in a table format, and that's it.
One thing I appreciate about your work and how you narrate it is that you don't suggest boiling the ocean. You don't just get out there and say, build your own graph like straight away, but you kind of promote the idea of starting small. So building like a small knowledge graph and that is your own. So it's
Yes.
purpose built and small enough to evolve. Um, so why is starting small a strategic advantage, and where should companies begin? Like, what do you typically suggest in your line of work?
When I first started, I didn't have lots of knowledge. Also, when I first was doing that, there was no AI really. Like I could use, there was some T5. No, T5 was even later. There was GPT-2, I remember, and it was not usable for that kind of stuff at all. So I did everything manually. I did so many errors. I did so many. It was such a horrible stuff at first. I was thinking, what am I doing? Why am I so stupidly wrong? So I've done all kinds of errors, and any person who will only start out first, they will do all kinds of errors. Especially, I did everything manually, so I knew where I did an error. But if a person does anything with AI, something there that they don't even read, like some vibe coders, they don't even understand the code. They cannot even understand where the error is at first. So you'll start small, you'll make lots of errors, you'll start all over again and again and again. And if it's something small, it's easy to fix actually. It's easy to learn, it's easy to evolve, it's easier to understand, to read here and there and make it work. But if you start something very global, you build like a new ontology no one else has, you'll crash, I think. So not necessarily, but like my gut feeling is that it will be too difficult and it will result in nothing. And what we want to be, we want as a business, we want traffic, we want conversions, we want people buying our services and our products, bringing us money. So we cannot devote too much time to some technical things that don't really work and that only take our time and don't give us results. So starting small, getting some result, and then evolving, building something greater on top of that will be a better strategy because it gives you the reward for what you are doing. Also, in my past, when I only started out, we didn't have AI, and our major problem was extracting data for the knowledge graph. you might remember that, yes, it was so difficult to understand. There were no like tools for that, so lots of work was manual and verify everything and create lots of duplicates and then merge them and then rethinking. It was very hard. Right now, most people, as far as I've seen, they are doing that with AI. So extracting and Google, extracting information is not the problem anymore. The most of the problem is in architecture. Building a good architecture and assigning all the labels, everything, and all these kind of things. When you don't have any experience with that, it's a very hard problem, in my opinion. And the same is in development, in IT, and in every other, in medical stuff and everything. So it's the most difficult part. So if you start small, you can see on the go what you are missing, what you need to add, and how you want to build it, and you get better understanding. You are more flexible. So yes, I do suggest starting small for many various reasons, and only one reason, if you need to remember it, it's because it's easier and you can get the result fast.
Yeah, I agree. And at the end of the day, like, of course, the beginning is when you start defining the architecture, the main entities, and then you start developing outwards. And I think that, of course, I agree with you when you say that the most difficult part is the beginning, like when you start designing the graph. So for the rest, because that is still like an intellectual, like a human job, that's where humans make the difference, and that's why it's more difficult. Then for the rest, of course, when you have to do it at scale, when you have to do like phase 2 of building a knowledge graph, then the computational scale of AI really helps. But in the beginning, like the definitions and the relationship between the most important, like the first nodes, it's very much like a human job. So I totally agree with you. So this leads to another kind of misconception. So everyone is talking about AI generated content, of course.
Yes.
Perhaps content is not the starting point. I mean, for me, it is not. So typically when I work on projects, I always start from a knowledge graph, which is also what we do in my day job at WordLift. So we always start with organizing the data that companies have. And then on top of that, we start building the content. We analyze what are the most important entities that we need to build content for, the information gaps that are out there. But a lot of organizations are investing heavily in AI generated content. So there's budget for a lot of POCs and testing various technologies out. And you've argued that the real work happens before content is ever created, and I totally agree with that. But I wanted to know, like, your specific point of view, like, has data become more valuable than content? And even if content is now the output of a knowledge system, to me, the answer to these questions is pretty straightforward, but I wanted to hear from you.
Like you cannot when you generate content without knowledge behind it, it's become a spam and fluff. And Google has been, not only Google, but I think many other search engines will catch up really fast. But that they are very strict on that. So, because now everyone is producing lots of content, and we can see that in LinkedIn too, with these comments and these posts, they are clearly AI generated and they don't have any value or any substance. They're just, I don't know, something that you don't want to lose your time on. To build something of value, you need to have this knowledge, you need to have this meaning. Why am I doing something? What am I trying to achieve with that? Knowledge graphs give you the knowledge that you need, the verifiable factual information, and this trustworthiness layer to everything that you produce. And on everything you have, if you connect, for example, your customer support or your customer data or questions you get from your potential clients or from your customers, or if you have an e-commerce website, sometimes people are asking questions there. Will this fit me? What size is it truly on? And will it help me when I don't know, how does it look on the body shape like that? Is it a cool undertone? Will it get me if I'm summer type or am I winter type? So few e-commerce sites ever answer these questions, but you get them in your knowledge graph. If you connect that with your customer service, if you've got all the knowledge graph fields, you can easily generate the content to answer these questions in full and in a reliable way. And that's exactly what customers want to hear. So in this context, the generating content is actually justified. It's fast, it's straightforward. You can easily pull all the data from your knowledge graph, especially if you've got lots of data there. It's very hard to remember everything from your memory. So yes, part of what you generate will be generated, but it will be factual based, and it will be reliable piece of data based on your real information, not something that you just post just because you have to and because you want to rank for this or that query, but it just doesn't really answer the person's question, doesn't have any purpose under that, and doesn't have any value, and so it will do you only like something not very good thing for you, will get you the index from Google.
Yeah, no, I agree. And sometimes there's like this also misconception that if you like upload a few documents about your company to an LLM, it will instantly know and be grounded in your knowledge. So again, like documents are not necessarily like the single source of truth, and there's no relationships stored inside the document. Whereas if you are able to plug your knowledge graph in an LLM, you will get like much better quality content. So yeah,
you can also use local LLMs. Now there are lots of new models which with open weights. So some of them I cannot really use myself because they require too much of tech, and I just cannot buy like 8 GPUs. For some of the setup, I need 16, I think, GPUs. I cannot do that for one company, but there are some local LLMs which are pretty good, even working from your laptop, for example, Gemma 4. I'm a big fan of Gemma 4. So if you are afraid of connecting some of your data with LLMs such as OpenAI's LLMs, GPT 5.6, or Claude Anthropic's LLMs, or any other, especially Chinese LLMs. Some people are very afraid of Chinese LLMs. So just use your local ones and sleep well. They work perfectly fine. You just need to like a bit to fine-tune them, use over your data, use for something very specific, and you are safe, more or less.
Yeah, I agree. And this is what I mean makes the difference between like an AI gen proof of concept that works and actually stays and that produces like credible and tangible results versus just another content generation POC that just overpromised and delivered zero results. Like, of course, there's maybe more work to be done up front, but we know that most of the times, like, data work works at the end of the day. Like when there's data and not just like a pre-made LLM doing the heavy lifting. So if knowledge becomes the foundation, then I'd like to also talk about retrieval. So right now, also like RAG and retrieval augmented generation has been like a hot topic for quite some time now, and knowledge graphs are often mentioned alongside RAG. But there's not much nuance in some of these conversations. And I wanted to know your take, like, how do you see the relationship between RAG and knowledge graph? Like, how are they complementary? Where does one outperform the other? And what misunderstandings do you hear most often?
So you remember when Karpathy released his statement on how to organize something? I don't remember if he used Obsidian. I use Obsidian in my work a lot. Like not a lot. I use it globally. I use it all the time, every day, without any exception. I don't remember if he uses Obsidian or he just uses Markdown files. I don't really remember. What he suggested was a Markdown. Were Markdown files with information, and he called it somehow a knowledge graph, which is, of course, it is not. So what he described was more like a RAG model with a query upon them, so a bit just more organized into categorized and taxonomized and everything like that. So I think there are lots of misconceptions about what is called what, and I don't want to add mine biases into that and start this definitions debates. What I think is that you can use RAG. It is very straightforward. It is very easy. You just throw all your data into one bag, into one pocket. It somehow gets categorized, organized, tokenized. Okay, it's fine. You might want to, at some point, you might want to extract information in a more structured way from there, get some verifiable facts and create a knowledge graph or at least some kind of database. Why would you need to do that? Why would you want to do that? First of all, because this data lake is very hard to search. You don't want to build another Google to search all these documents. Like you may, they provide some solutions, but if you have a knowledge graph, it's more straightforward. Also, if you have a knowledge graph, once again, you have the meaning behind all your data. You don't have only this statistical relevance behind that. And one of the also important things is that it's better organized, and you can query it in many other ways and get a very factual data and very factual answer compared to what you get just from the data lake when you use RAG. So in my opinion, it's one of those. And but I think that if you need to start from somewhere, start from somewhere. It's all good. It's better to do something and do it wrong rather than not do anything and just and that's it.
I agree. And I mean, this brings me back to something that I've discussed throughout this season, which is how we optimize information. Traditional SEO taught us to optimize for pages. But for me, having worked with AI and graphs, it seems that agentic systems increasingly consume more entities, attributes, and facts themselves rather than just pages. So, for instance, I don't know if you agree, and do you think that this means that we're moving from page optimization to fact optimization, meaning that can a page become just an interface for an LLM to retrieve content from, and it's just a medium? And is the fact becoming like some sort of new atomic unit of information? And how do you think that organizations should prepare for this?
I think that we'll have very different kinds of UIs, and of course, AI bots and even Google. I think they'd prefer to give us some kind of API protobuf and have only factual information from us supplied there. Plus, these reviews and the experiences, like what people really experienced by using our service products or interacting with us, and what they think of us as experts and all this kind of stuff. So in the future, perhaps we'll have some kind of API systems where we feel just the raw data, very factual, very concise, into all these chatbots. Or we give them permission to access it on some kind of our server, or wherever we'll be storing that. That's one, but we're not yet there. So at the moment, all the AI and Google, everyone, they consume content from our page, and what we need to optimize for this page is to make this content extractable in the right way, to make it loadable, to make it readable, to make it claimable. So if we want the AI chatbot to be able to make a claim with the reference or citation to us, we need to ease their life so that they can do it very easily, very straightforwardly. So we need to construct our sentences, we need to construct our page. We had to do that before as well, just it was not so important for us before, because humans can read Java, like we can upload some content with JavaScript, and users can read it. Now when human users rely on their agents to read it, we need to like make it loadable for them, so we don't use, for example, JavaScript anymore to load the content on the page. We use like rendered HTML server-side rendering and all these kind of things, and perhaps we'll structure in a bit more robotic way compared to human, because we know that no one, like previously people could read like a very big page, like we used to be like skyscraper content, whatever it was called, and some people even read it or skimmed it. At least now no one will be ever doing that ever. They'll throw it into their AI agent and they'll rely on whatever this AI agent also. We all know that unless we have written some very good book by I don't know who, we need to make it readable by AI agents in a very short way so that they understand our content properly. So that's what I suggest doing, making very good headings. We had to do it before, but we were could be lazy and it worked for us. Right now, we need to be extra attentive to this kind of stuff, make all this architecture of the page as well, and see how architecture of every sentence, how we build it. Is it extractable, claimable, verifiable? Is it easy for the agent to understand what we've written? And also they've got this attention span and the context window quite small sometimes. Many people still use free AI agents, and those free AI agents, like I think 90% of people use free tools. So yeah, they have a lower context window, and they will appreciate if you make it faster for them.
Yeah, I agree. So of course as we're saying, we're entering a world where machines are also consumers, direct consumers of information. And information architecture started to exist to help humans navigate information and websites. So are we beginning to design information architecture primarily for machine reasoning, and navigation has become some sort of secondary layer? And also, what do you think remains uniquely human?
Interface. I think interface. Though there are interfaces, I've heard that some platforms have started even ads for the agents already. So they're showing ads to agents only. And what is interesting about those ads is that agents watch them from start to finish, something that no human ever does, and actually read the content inside the ad, which is a bit funny, I think. And I also find it fascinating. So there are some ads that you never see, but only available to your AI agent, and they try to input like your choices with that ad. And yeah, I think that interfaces will be the distinctive part. So we need to make simpler interfaces for our AI agents so that they could do it fast and consume less tokens, and produce better answers for the humans. And we need to make more beautiful interfaces for humans if they suddenly decide to I don't know, to get on our page, which is more and more rare these days. Yeah? Someone finally lands our page, we need to treat them like, I don't know, kings and queens and attract their attention as much as we can. But of course, do it pretty fast. So yeah, I think that the interface will be, the data layer will be the same behind both. It's just about how we present this information.
Yeah, I agree with everything. So we are almost approaching the end of the episode. So I have a closing question, and then there's a question from a listener. So the question that I'd like to finish this episode with is, if you could convince every CEO or website owner that you will, like, let's say like a client, to understand one single thing about knowledge graphs before the end of this year, what would it be? Like the one selling point?
Do not outsource your corporate data, your corporate memory, and your corporate narrative to public web. Govern it, lead the way, show what you want to be thought of, show which people you are waiting to buy for your product, show what you want to be perceived as, show all your advantages. Just showcase them yourself. Don't wait till AI agents or whoever else uses this knowledge gap and fills the information gap with their content instead of yours. Do it yourself. Make it easily reachable for all AI, for all the humans, everywhere, on all the platforms, on all social media, on, I don't know, if you are in IT, Stack Overflow, use Substack for your posts, use YouTube, make those short videos, long videos, all kinds of different content and stuff based on your own data and your knowledge graph, so that you can get more customers, so that you can get more traffic, that you convert them, and you have money to grow your business and give people, real humans, work and flourish and, I don't know, prosper and everything else. So
Yeah, that's I mean, a great piece of advice coming also from you and your experience. So I'll move to a question from Eugene, which is a question for you. So how do you come up with valuable content and compete in a niche where there is very little chance of inventing completely new information? Is it enough to just connect the content to company data within a graph for search engines to treat it as valuable? I'll also copy and paste this into our private chat so you can read it.
yeah, I see.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, I use a lot the data from the customers or from potential customers. I always skim what they are looking for, what they search for, what questions they have, and those are not necessarily the queries that people put into Google. I'm looking for what the problems they're trying to solve with my content. And it's always, there's nothing like, every one of us is some copy of our parents. Everything we do is someone else is doing it, probably sometimes even better than us. It's just not that you need to be absolutely innovative and unique. You just need to do whatever you are doing in the best way possible and help people solve their problem. And that's it. So you don't need to do something, I don't know, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, I don't know, something very difficult, something hard to, it can be super simple. If you cook bread, if you make bread, lots of people make bread, it's still valuable. It doesn't have to be unique. If people can find your bread, feed themselves, feed their children, feed their family, wonderful. So make it easy for them to find you. And you create content about that. It will be very simple content. I cook bread, I bake bread here at this address, I do that at this time. So answer all those questions that people might have. Like, for example, they might think, will I be able to buy your bread for my breakfast? So tell them, yes, I will have this and that available for breakfast. Will you be working after I go from work? For example, so when I return from work, can I buy bread from your bakery when I return? Will it be available there? Like, yes, I'm open like till 8, and I cook extra bread just for the evening shift For example, I don't know, whatever it is, whatever your business is. So don't think about content as something that should be absolutely unique. Think about your business and how you can help people solve their problems with it, and that will be enough. So many people, they just generate fluff and spam and stuff that very hard to read just to rank for something. People land on their pages, but they cannot solve that problem with this content. And if you put essence into it, even very small, tiny details, which are helpful to people to understand how you help them, that's it. Nothing more you need. And yes, knowledge graphs will help with that, because you'll store the, like bakery might be not the best example because it's a local business and you don't need knowledge graph for a small local business, of course, but it's just for the example, as an example. But of course, it's more useful for the big companies, better companies. But I just showcase how it's organized properly.
Yeah, I agree. And also, if I can add something to what Olija brilliantly already stated, is that, I mean, one can, I agree that there's no need to invent, but one can focus on, for example, a perspective, a specific angle of something, of a company or of a product. Like if you are, if your shipping costs are lower than your competitors, eventual proximity to specific locations. I mean, also focusing on that one or two specific and unique selling points of your own business, and then you can also plug them in your knowledge graph and add that to the structured data. And for example, if your products are if you are serving a specific area, you can add the area served, the entity type. I mean, there's of course a specific type for almost everything that you want to highlight, and that's also like another perspective, and without having to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Right. So I hope this answers Eugene's questions, and I wanted to thank you, Olija, and this conversation's been wonderful. And the idea that really stayed with me throughout the conversation is that for years, organization website owners have treated knowledge as something that they just publish, but instead they'll need to treat knowledge as something that they build, and that they maybe are sitting on it and without realizing its worth. In a world of AI agents right now, it's the quality of your intelligence that depends on the quality of your memory. So this might become the real value and role of a knowledge graph, not simply to organize information, but to become that memory layer that intelligent systems can trust. So thank you, everyone, for listening to the Semantic Agent. Thank you, Olija, for this wonderful talk. I won't be airing in August because I'm taking a small break, but I'll be back in September with another guest that I love so much. And have a nice summer, everyone, and see you next time. Bye, Olija.
Bye.